Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo. Happy weekend! It's time for a vlog once again. This is also going to be a bit of a channel update, a lot of channel-related discussion to be had. But overall, I hope you guys had a great week. I hope you have a great weekend. I know many of you are going to be celebrating Easter, so I hope you eat lots of good food, lots of chocolate, and there are very few cavities at the end of the day. But let's go ahead and kick this thing off. First and foremost, a bit of an announcement to make, guys. I've actually partnered with Greenman Gaming, so I'm officially a Greenman Gaming affiliate. They actually reached out to me, which was very exciting. Now, I've had a lot of companies, shady companies, I should say, reach out to me in the past. Companies trying to be much like G2A, gray market key resellers who, in most instances, do not have permission from the developer to sell their games. And of course, I've turned those down. You guys have never and never will see me support resellers like that. I've never supported G2A, and I never will. Which is why I was very excited when Greenman Gaming reached out to me, because unlike those gray market sellers, they are not like that. They actually sell games they have permission to sell, and they don't sell stolen keys, which is why you will never see a brand new release for like $20 on Greenman Gaming. However, if you head on over to GMG, for example, maybe you want to pick up Doom, or maybe you want to pick up Dark Souls 3 in the coming weeks, you can go ahead and use my code, TonyMo-Gaming-TonyMo. It'll save you 20% off on your purchase, and I will get a small kickback of that, which will help me then support the channel, which would be awesome. So if you guys already buy your games from Greenman Gaming, you can go ahead and use that code. Like I said, it'll benefit me. If you've never even considered buying your games from Greenman Gaming, this weekend is a great opportunity to check them out. There's a lot of sales going on with their spring sale, so you're already going to save money, and you can stack that 20% off code from me as long as the game's value is over $10. So that's it, guys. It's as simple as that. You're not going to see me, going crazy pushing this. There's no doubt that when there are sales on Greenman Gaming, I will make you guys aware of them, much like I'm doing right now. But if you're looking to support the channel, you can do it simply by buying your games at a discounted price. You don't have to throw any additional money my way. I can use that kickback. I can buy games, software, and hardware to help continue covering stuff on the channel. If you have any questions or concerns about this partnership, feel free to leave it down in the comment section below. I want to make sure you're just as comfortable with this as I am. But let's go ahead and move forward with the vlog for this weekend, guys. A lot of cool stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff considering the amount of games that are coming out in the next several months, and I really wanted to give you guys a small outline, at least, of what I'm going to be covering in the very near future. But before we get into that, let's talk 9K, man. We're about 20 subs away from 9,000 subscribers right now. The channel has seen massive growth in the last few days. Several of my Division videos have genuinely taken off. They've done really exceptionally well, and that's awesome. They're videos that I kind of knew would do well around the basis of doing similar videos for Destiny, and those are the weapon reviews. People love weapon reviews for games like that. People really like to see, someone break down, their thought process and their opinion on a weapon. Some people like more by the numbers stuff. You guys know I do a little bit of a mix. I don't really like to go all by the numbers. I like to consider the feel and the handling of the weapon, and also its visual appearance, because games are supposed to be for fun. And I like to do math in my games, but only a little bit. I'd rather have the math take a backseat to the overall enjoyable experience. That's how I do my reviews, and I'm glad to see a lot of people really enjoying reviews like that. Of course, it's allowed me to do a lot of those discussion-type videos in between that. And I know there are a lot of new subs here on the channel right now, possibly watching this, so I want to welcome you guys all to the channel. Thank you for hopping on board. I hope you stay along for the ride. There's a lot of awesome stuff that we're going to be covering moving in the future. While I will continue to cover the Division, my channel is very much a variety channel. I cover a lot of different games. I like to do first impressions. I like to do more extensive coverage of certain games. For example, Doom is one of those games that we're probably going to be doing some more extensive coverage of, as well as No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky, I think, is the next big thing. It's going to sit right alongside of the Division as a primary piece of coverage on the channel. We're going to be doing a massive exploration-based Let's Play series for that. Very much looking forward to that day, as I know many of you are. So, before we actually get into the upcoming coverage, though, I wanted to mention something, you guys, in case you haven't seen it. Blizzard released a short for Overwatch called Recall. It's a short to essentially advertise and promote the Xbox One release of the game in the coming months. Now, whether or not you're a fan of Overwatch or you're looking forward to playing Overwatch, you should go watch this short. Blizzard is amazing at making animated shorts. It's why, the cutscenes and the animations for World of Warcraft and Heroes of the Storm are some of the best in the business, and some of the best ever, in my opinion. I would still, to this day, love to see Blizzard just make a full-out animated film. I would watch it. It would be amazing. And I feel like it could genuinely go to the movie theater and sell right alongside films, you know, made by companies like Pixar. Like, easily. And when you watch this Recall short, there's a lot of Pixar in it, I feel. You know, it has some emotion, it has some humor, it puts a smile on your face, and all the while, it's telling you a bit of the story regarding the characters of Overwatch, why they exist, and, you know, what their purpose is. Go watch it. It's 8 minutes of awesomeness. I'll have a link down in the description below if you can't find it for yourself. Click that link and just check it out. Share it with your friends. Show it to some of the non-gamers in your family. Just say, hey, here's this new animated film. There's a short for it. And see what they say about it, because I think they'll be surprisingly... I think they'll enjoy it. They'll surprisingly enjoy it. That makes no sense. Anyways, let's move forward. Let's talk about that near future upcoming coverage. Actually, starting just next week, we're going to be kicking this onslaught off with the Doom beta. There's actually a lot of betas dropping, and you can expect me to cover all 3 of the big ones. That, of course, includes Doom, Battleborn, as well as Gears of War 4. Very much looking forward to that one. The Doom beta is going to be kicking off the end of this month, March 31st, pushing into April. It is multiplayer only. I'm going to be playing it on PC, bringing you guys my impressions, my overall thoughts on the new Doom feel. Very much looking forward to giving that a go. As I said, Battleborn and Gears of War 4 as well. But in terms of full game releases, one of the biggest ones for me is going to be Quantum Break. I am a massive, massive fan of Remedy and Sam Lake. I've been playing their games since the original Max Payne. It was one of my first... You know, it was one of the first games I played on a PC, actually, was the original Max Payne. The original Max Payne was also a pretty groundbreaking experience. For those of you guys who don't know, the first Max Payne was one of the first games to introduce not just the bullet time mechanic, but real animated, you know, modeled bullets in the environment. It wasn't just hit scan. They actually had bullets that came out of a gun and then hit a target in real time. That was something games hadn't done before. Remedy's always just kind of been a bunch of badasses, in my opinion. Max Payne, not just an amazing game from a gameplay perspective, but also from a story perspective, and that continued in Max Payne 2, and that continued in Alan Wake, which is still one of my all-time favorite gaming experiences. Alan Wake is just so special to me, and I know to a lot of other people. If you haven't played it to this day, I recommend it. If anyone ever tells me they haven't played Alan Wake, I will tell them to go play it, probably for the next 40 years. It's just that good. It is worth playing. And even the small expansion they did, American Nightmare, which is sort of a twisted reality of something that existed inside of the Alan Wake universe, is totally worth playing as well. You could probably grab both of those dirt cheap, and if you're looking to experience some Quantum Break style games, go play Max Payne 1 and 2, go play Alan Wake, get a taste of that, and get yourself ready for Quantum Break. They've honestly never done anything bad, Remedy. I can't think or name an experience or a game that they've created that wasn't good. Like, they just make good stuff. And, you know, really looking forward to Quantum Break, because it seems to be pushing forward with that continued, you know, two-sided awesomeness approach that Remedy does so well. Like I said, story and gameplay. It's just something they managed to kill. Like, so many developers struggle to make one or the other good. You know, sometimes you'll have a great story, the gameplay falls short, the gameplay's good, the story falls short. Remedy's always just been like, no, we've got a handle on both of these things, and we're going to do it really well. And they've always done it without an excessive amount of cutscenes. They're really good at just in-game storytelling. However, Quantum Break is taking things in a different direction, because they're going to be using 3 20-minute live-action sequences throughout the game's length to tell the story in combination with the in-game storytelling. They brought on Sean Ashmore, casted him as the main character. They're really trying to take things to the next level. It's going to be interesting to see how that all pulls through. From what I've seen, am very hopeful in the fact that the story is going to be amazing, and what I've seen in the gameplay, I'm almost, you know, 100% sure is going to be phenomenal. I just can't wait to actually play it for myself. I've seen so much in terms of the mechanics that they're using with the time bending, and it's just a matter of, like, give it to me so I can mess around with it and have really cool, you know, firefights and combat sequences. Much like Max Payne, which is really focused around, here's the tool set. You know, you have bullet time, you have the ability to do all these crazy dives and rolls. Now, use them to make your own sort of action film. And that's really what I see them doing with Quantum Break. Like, okay, here's all these crazy time-bending mechanics, now use them to make your own awesome action sequences. So, really looking forward to Quantum Break. Really excited that it's releasing on Xbox One as well as on Windows 10. You know, that's just, it increases the amount of people who are going to be able to experience the game, and that's always a win-win. Not to mention, if you pre-order it on Xbox One, you also get a free copy on PC, so works out both ways. Last, and definitely not least, is Dark Souls 3. You guys may have noticed you're seeing some footage from the first Dark Souls, which was, in fact, my very first Souls experience. Dark Souls 2 fell short for me in a lot of ways. It just didn't capture the same sort of emotions and reward and challenge that the first Dark Souls did for me. So I'm really looking forward to 3, hopefully doing what the first game did for me. Dark Souls 3 was really special. I'm sorry, Dark Souls was very special for me because, you know, like I said, it was my first Souls game, but it was also... I mean, I've played games that involve the term masochist before. I've been a fan of games like that. I like really challenging experiences. You know, Trials throughout the ages has been one of those experiences once you hit the extreme tracks. I grew up playing games like Battletoads and Castlevania and Metroid. You know, like games that were genuinely hard. They were not easy. So I've always appreciated that and respected that. But few games, I think, have been able to capture the challenge and the reward like the first Dark Souls did for me. You know, it was a game that constantly tested my ability, my knowledge of the game, and the game's mechanics, and my overall skill, punished me for not knowing what I needed to know, but then equally, and sometimes even more so, rewarded me for understanding and completing a task, for being successful. Like, just an immensely heavy amount of... an immensely heavy feeling of reward is how I should put it. Like, that was the first Dark Souls. It was like, punish you, punish you, punish you, punish you, and then one big, juicy pile of reward for your successes. And you throw in all of the other great things about the Souls games. You know, the constant, like, open world storytelling. The game never really directly reveals anything to you. It gives the player a world, it gives it characters, it gives it bits and pieces of lore and background in terms of the environmental design, and it's up to the player to just kind of make the connections and figure things out for themselves. And that same sort of thought process exists inside of the game's I should say lack of tutorial system. You know, like Dark Souls never shows you or tells you how to do anything. It's very, very brief in that respect. Like, go to the bonfire, level up. It doesn't tell you how to backstab. It barely tells you how to parry. You know, a lot of it's done through the notes left in the world by the game, sometimes by the other players. But you could play, you know, the first 2 months of the game, much like I did with the first Souls, without ever knowing what a backstab was or how to perform it. Like, and then when you realize how to do that, it was a reward in itself, and it was also a really great feeling knowing that a game in this day and age could keep a secret, a gameplay mechanic like that, hidden from you for such a long period of time. And I loved being able to play the first Dark Souls so blind like that. You know, not really watching anyone else playing it, not knowing anything else about it. I knew very little about Dark Souls or about the Souls series, you know, Demon Souls previously when I played Dark Souls. So it became a very special experience for me, and I imagine it made it that much more difficult for a game like Dark Souls 2 to impress me and to feel special, because, you know, I just wasn't going into it in the same scenario that I went into the first game with. But I'm hoping 3 can revive a bit of that. Bloodborne did a really amazing job in my opinion. I loved Bloodborne to death. I never finished it just because of time constraints, but I'm really looking forward to 3. I'm seeing a lot of positive remarks already from a lot of the Dark Souls YouTubers. So really looking forward to exploring a, you know, brand new, dark and beautiful world in Dark Souls 3, and hopefully it can invoke a lot of those same feelings, those same challenges and rewards that the first game did for me. Now, in terms of coverage, I'm not going to be doing anything extensive or crazy. I'm not an amazing Dark Souls player. I'm a pretty good Dark Souls player, but I'm not amazing, and covering it on the channel would not be something that I would do. It just doesn't fit the channel. It doesn't fit, you know, the time constraints I have in terms of covering other games like The Division. But I do plan on doing at least a couple videos just talking about my feelings for Dark Souls 3, you know, whether or not it was able to captivate those same emotions that I had when I played the first Dark Souls. That'll really be what it's about. It won't be anything crazy subjective. It won't be a review. It'll just be me sitting down talking about my personal feelings for the game. So that's going to do it for this weekend, guys. Wanted to keep this kind of short and sweet. I know a lot of you probably have plans for the weekend. Got one more day of work here, and then I'm hoping I can enjoy some good food, some celebration with the family, as well as some warm weather. It looks like things are finally starting to shape up. It actually looks warm outside. I may actually ride my motorcycle to work today, and that would make work a lot better. Work's always better when you ride a motorcycle there, and then when you leave on a motorcycle. It just makes it that much more enjoyable. Once again, guys, if you're celebrating Easter, have a great holiday. If not, just have a great weekend. Hang out with some good people. Play some good games. And I will see you in the next one.